when my soul's in need. I find compassion for friends and enemies. My own compassion is where my spirit breathes.
Live from Santa Barbara, welcome to Compassionate Connection. I'm your hostess, Gigi Amor. The purpose of our show is to share with you how to connect compassionately within ourselves and with others once we really choose to gain the knowledge of the language of life, the language of compassion. We can really transform and enrich our lives and relationships. So that's just a bit of a suggestion for you to check out this language from the heart. Now tonight, we do have a very special guest with us that has this knowledge of this language of compassion and even branches out way beyond just that particular issue. So it's pretty exciting. We have a life coach, and tonight Susan Allan is going to be teaching us and sharing with us, coaching you down from a cliff. And boy, that I've been personally on many slippery slopes, and thank you for being with us, Susan. It's a joy to have you back.
Let's keep you off
I
those
love
slopes.
that. Yes, I'm going to be paying attention, taking note. Now, a bit about Susan. Susan Allan is the founder of the Marriage Forum in a nonprofit corporation that works with individuals, couples, and families, and corporations to resolve challenges that can include any form of difficult relationship that needs more peace, cooperation, and resolution. Susan is a communication specialist, certified mediator, a certified Herman brain dominance trainer, and life coach. Susan has also worked with everyone from celebrities to prisoners in California's Merit program, from Harvard MBAs to those dealing with addiction and complicated diagnosis. Susan has been seen on Fox News and on hundreds of television and radio shows, demonstrating the results we can create when we do transform the way we think, listen, speak, and act, and focus on solutions instead of on problems. Susan offers a complimentary 1-hour private telephone session so that everyone can indeed transform their lives. What a great gift that is.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, we have so much here that we have to share with you, and I'd just like to let you know a little bit about what this is going to be about. And for one thing, there are many kinds of life coaching, and Susan's results, of course, are, as we know, extraordinary. You've been at this practically lifelong, too. And she says that it's a combination of being a cheerleader and a tough personal trainer, an EMT, and a private duty nurse. And tonight, Susan is indeed going to give us a peek behind the curtain. She will explain to us the kinds of situations her clients find themselves in and what they're facing before they do indeed call for her help. And she gets them back to that peaceful place of safety, love, health, and success. So tonight, this is going to be a series, and this is the first part. And so there's going to be a lot of information covering all of this. I am so excited. I have a stack of papers, and I am going to interrogate you again.
Okay.
A peaceful sharing here. All right. Well, to get right into this, I know that you've said that there is a cliff coaching. And when people call you because they're in a crisis and coaching, where people can really relax and take more time, or what's the difference if they're in a crisis, or you can go a little slower?
Really, the only difference is that if someone's in a crisis, my first job is to calm them down, because you can't think straight if you're panicking. So if you eliminate the panic and you just focus on the problem, then we can throw all the appropriate skills at it, which of course are whole brain thinking, whole brain functioning, the 6-part conversation, etc., etc. But if you're in a crisis and you are panicking, you will never be able to accomplish the results you need. So the very first thing that I have to do is I have to, of course, bring you back to peace, and then I have to teach you how to bring yourself back to peace, either with self-empathy, the 4 questions of inquiry, or both. And we've covered both of those skills on many of your shows in the past. And the key is to be able to notice what you're feeling and what you're needing, and see if there's a story you're telling about the situation that needs to be transformed. Because if you're telling yourself a story that you're not going to make it through the week, or you're not going to make it through the night, then we've got to find a story that is more true, more peaceful, and therefore more powerful, so that you've got some ground to stand on, so that you can do the work with me and learn some skills.
Perfectly put, Susan. Thank you. Now, I know that you do speak about making peace through communication. How do people do this with, let's say, personal issues?
Well, the most important thing, again, is you've got to calm yourself down before you speak. You have to calm yourself down if you want to be effective, if you want to motivate anybody, if you want to think straight. All of it begins with you calming you. And of course, that's, as I said, I'm going to either teach you the self-empathy, which is the beginning of my 6-part conversation, or I'll teach you the 4 questions of inquiry and how to turn your chaotic, panicky story around. Thank you, Fred. Thanks for putting that on the screen. Or I'll teach you both, and then you calm down. And when you calm down, then I'm going to teach you how to communicate to this other person, whether it's the person who you think is causing the problem, or if you think this is the person who can help you get out of the problem. But there are always people in our lives, people who are potential solutions. But if you're in a state of chaos, they're not going to help you. Now, they might want to help you, but if you're in a state of chaos, they won't even understand what you're talking about. So that is always the key. Learning how to calm down, learning how to motivate other people, that is the key to every single solution that you desire in your life for the rest of your life.
Boy, isn't that huge. I know just physically, if I'm running around, I'm going to run into a wall or
Yes.
cause myself more complications,
That's
you
right.
know, and
That's right.
ouch.
That's right.
Same type of thing, just paying attention. I love that. Now, what about the businesses that I know that you work with? Are there situations different? Are they different from working with individuals who really need peace?
Well, yeah, I mean, in business, people tend to be more functional. So if someone has a personal crisis and they own a business or have a senior position in a business, they're usually a more functional person. They're more whole-brained. If someone has a personal crisis and maybe they've never had to earn a living, well, they've never had to develop business skills. They've never had to develop certain communication skills. So it's easier. If you've got a career, it's easier for you to solve any kind of a problem, because one of the benefits of working for a long time is that you're forced to develop a lot of life skills. So that's the key difference. It doesn't mean that I can't teach you. It just means that we may have to start with some basics, and you may have to, develop the basics. It's the same thing if I work with somebody who's, a child or a teenager or a young adult. We don't expect them to have the same skills that maybe a 40 or a 50 or a 60-year-old would have. But that doesn't mean they can't learn. And of course, the sooner we learn, the sooner we're going to have more ease and more success in our life.
There you go. So when I start tennis lessons, I'll remember this.
Yes,
Gotta
not
start
expected,
somewhere.
right? Not expected to know it unless you've already have a lot of tennis lessons, right?
Well, okay, how about this? Does everyone in a crisis is it really hard to solve it with your coaching?
No, because my job is to work with the client, and whatever you, the client, bring to the table is what you bring to the table. My job is to make sure that between us and any other experts we might want to pull in, that the solution is found. So that's my job. Your job is just to call me and then tell me, what it is that you're dealing with and ask if I can help, and then ask me how I would imagine I could help, and then we'll talk about it together. Your job is not to show up with the solutions. If you had the solutions, you wouldn't have to call me.
Oh, but I'm sure you're open to their suggestions so you get an understanding.
Of course, we're working together.
Yeah.
We're, it's always a team effort. Whatever problem has to be solved, it's always a team effort. But if you had all the skills or all the experts you needed, you wouldn't be calling me. You'd already have fixed it.
There you go. Now, does everyone really benefit from the same kind of coaching?
No, it's very interesting. Fred, if you would put up that little model of the whole brain thinking, that would be great, just that little circle. Thank you. It's just really fascinating that if you're someone who's great with dollars and numbers, that's the blue quadrant, you're already thinking that way. You don't need me to surface it for you. If you're already a green, that's the lower left, the getting it done, taking preventative action, planning, organizing. If you already think that way, you don't need me to constantly surface it and remind you. If you're the lower right, the red quadrant, and you're all about communication and feelings and empathy for other people, again, you don't need me to teach you that. You don't need me to surface that and encourage you to do that. And finally, if you're an upper right brain thinker, and that's the yellow, and you're already looking at outside the box solutions, that's not what you need me for. But since very, very few people, about 1% of the human population, is equidominant, and if you haven't had this training, you're going to be locked into your way of seeing life, seeing problems, and you're not going to be able to see all the solutions that I see. And that's where I get busy. That's what I start with is, well, have you thought about it this way? And with training, you begin to be able to do what I do, which is look at it from all perspectives and take action that you didn't realize you would be able to take before.
So to those of us who aren't aware of the possibilities, that's like reaching for the sky.
Yeah, and for some of us, it means you have to learn a lot of new skills in order to be able to plan or organize. But in the beginning, I will help you do the planning and the organizing. I'll help you with the to-do list. I'll help support you in getting those things done. Or I'll help you do the research, the logical analysis of data, dollars, and numbers. If that's not a way that you're used to living and you're used to taking action because it seems like a good idea, but you haven't checked it out, I'll make sure that you check it out. Double check it, triple check it.
Yes. And it doesn't take her long to figure this out, I know.
Right, it's like boom. Yeah.
Is this in your best interest?
Right.
Now, what do you mean by coaching is like salsa? It comes in mild, medium, and hot.
Well, it's interesting. Some people tell me, I can work with you for 12 sessions. That's all the money I have. Other people tell me, I just want this to, we'll work together as long as it takes. And so if somebody has a very finite amount of sessions they can afford, and they are getting into let's say they need a divorce, they want to end their marriage, or they want to find a wonderful new partner, or they want to start a company with an idea they have, or they have a child or a family member who they really know is an addict and they need to save that person's life. Obviously, if they've got unlimited sessions, 48 sessions, 60 sessions, whatever it is, then coaching can be mild or it can be medium, and we can go in a very peaceful, orderly way. But if somebody's got a financial challenge on top of the other problem, then, it's got to be much more intense coaching. And what's interesting to me is some people have, I've had people who have a tremendous crisis. They've worked with me in the past and they solved a crisis then, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever it is. And then they come to me and they want to work with me for a couple of sessions and they want it to be easy and relaxed. That's not possible. If you've got a big challenge in your life, the fact that the coaching system that I developed is going to solve it is a miracle enough. But it's not necessarily as if we could just snap our fingers. We can't snap our fingers necessarily and make all of the challenges go away. You've got to change your brain. You've got to think differently. You've got to communicate differently. You've got to motivate people more effectively. It's complicated.
Yes, it is. It's very entangled. And I know you look at all of those areas all at the same time.
And let's solve 1, 2, 3, all of it. We have to solve all of it. If you want to have a different life, you have to think differently. You have to actually let me help you build a different brain. And that's how we build a different life for you.
I'm paying attention here. Now, are there certain people who have, let's say, fabulous, fast results, and others who perhaps take more time to solve situations with Heartspace or your sales form coaching?
Yeah, it just depends on what skills they have when they come into it. It's no different. You're talking about tennis coaching. So, if you decide to take your first tennis lesson, but you were good at baseball, it's not going to be difficult because it's eye-hand coordination and it's a piece of equipment with your eye and a ball. But when I took golf lessons from Roger Dunn, very famous golfer, he said to me, well, what's your best sport? I said, I don't have any. What do you mean you don't have a best sport? I said, I don't have any sports. Horseback riding. He said, that's not a sport. Okay. Sailing. Well, that's not really a sport. Okay. Dancing. No, what do you do? Eye-hand coordination and a ball. Well, if I had eye-hand coordination and a ball, I would do them all, but I don't, so I don't. Poor guy, he just didn't know what to do with me. I don't think he'd ever met anyone who wasn't already an athlete of some sort. So the trick with this, if you want me to teach you how to build your business or how to change a career or get a great job or all the rest of it, we're still going to be using the business skills, the communication skills, the life skills that you've got. If you want me to show you how I got 16 marriage proposals, for example, and what are the skills that I used in order to motivate all of that, we have to see what you've got to start with. So depending on what your life has been before you contacted me, that will have a big impact on how quickly we produce results for you, and also how committed you are, how hard you work in between sessions. That makes a very big difference too.
So the person themselves, of course, and the passion for change.
Yes, precisely.
Well, therefore, what is the most important thing that a client must do in order to turn around their problem and have a solution?
It's really serious. We do have to change our brain. I was just visiting my stepfather, and a woman said, I met you 5 years earlier. And I thought she looked familiar, one of his friends and his wife's friends. And she said, but you're much happier now. And she said, I hope you don't mind my saying that. I said, I'm thrilled, because I've been working, on this for 40-something years. So I'm thrilled that you see a difference in 5 years. I was really excited. And, it feels that way from inside as well, that in the last 5 years I've gotten even happier. But of course, if she knew me 15 years ago, then she would probably say every couple of years that I'm happier. Because that's the job, building a new brain.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you. Yes.
We all try our best
Proof.
to look at the bright side regardless.
Proof of life.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, is there a time frame for the results that people that are working on either their financial or, let's say, reconciliation or turning a family around, or even with a family member that's perhaps suffering with an addiction?
There are different time frames for different scenarios. For example, if you want to create reconciliation in your marriage, It's really difficult if you call me after 6 months of separation. It's really easy if you call me before you separate. Simply because there's a lot less water under the bridge, you know. But that's not to say that I haven't worked with people and crafted reconciliation even when they were getting a divorce, because I have. I've had the ability with these skills to take that situation, that scenario, and transform it back into a loving relationship in a couple of cases. But, you know, if somebody's just begun to be an addict, it's very different from somebody who has now been shooting heroin in the bathroom for 6 months or a year. And again, I can tell you that I've worked with families when that was going on, a couple of cases, and we still got the people to be clean and sober, and they're still clean and sober. But the sooner that you contact me, the better off it is. And there really, to date, there's no situation, whether it's a corporate situation or a family situation or an individual situation, that doesn't respond beautifully to these skills. It's just the sooner that we get our, you know, if you roll up your sleeves and get to work, the sooner you're going to have the results. And it's a lot easier as well.
Very nice. Very encouraging. What are the common denominators of those who really thrive with your Heartspace system skills?
Well, frankly, you have to have a certain intelligence. You have to really be somebody who's capable of learning. That doesn't mean that you have to be a college graduate, because there are many, many people who are brilliant and who didn't go to college for a number of reasons or dropped out. But you have to have a certain intelligence. And you have to be someone who's committed to expanding your skill set. So that's someone who enjoys the idea of lifelong learning. Because as you get older, your brain's going to change. So do you want it to change the way you want it to change, or do you want it to just get less effective? Do you want to have skills drop away, or do you want to work hard and develop new skills? So that's one aspect of it. So that's the upper left brain. That's the blue part. Being willing to develop, get more information, develop the facts and figures. Thank you, Fred. And then if you are somebody who's a hard worker, that's that lower left, the green, the consistent action. If you're somebody who's willing to do homework in between sessions, you're going to do better. If you're someone who's the lower right to some degree, and you care about other people's feelings, if you have a natural ability to be compassionate, you're going to find yourself doing better. And also, if you've got some upper right and you're somebody who can see outside the box and you don't think that the way you see the world is the only way it is, if you can begin to see something a little bit new and different, you're going to do better. So any of those four versions I can work with. And of course, if you've got more than one, I'm thrilled. It makes it easier.
Very nice. Boy, I still like getting that happy one in order, because I think that helps to keep all the channels open. Feeling good, you're happy,
Yeah,
you're
sure.
willing to participate and grow.
Sure.
Now, what is one of your favorite, let's say, results with a client that you've worked with in a marriage or a relationship?
You know, I just love it when somebody is able to take a look at their partner in a new way. And that is the fundamental aspect of all reconciliation. To remember what it was that you loved about that person when you first met, and see where it's gone sideways and where you can bring your love, your unconditional love, your caring, your commitment to the relationship to motivate and inspire that partner. Because he or she's not going to change. You know, I'm not able to craft reconciliation for people because the person that I don't speak to changes. Not at all. The person I don't speak to is going to be the same person, you know, irrespective. But the one I'm working with is able to make changes. And that is what's so crucial. And, you know, people hit walls. I mean, they do all the time. They decide that they really don't want to evolve. They don't want to work that hard on the relationship. And, you know, we can't force them. It's just that, as Gigi said, when somebody is in a positive emotional state, feels hopeful and happy, those people can have a completely different life because they therefore are willing to work harder and work longer at it. People who tend to feel rather hopeless or despairing obviously aren't going to put much time and energy into personal transformation. They don't feel it's worth it. And so that is the key. You're right.
Well, I personally want that happy ending, so I'm going to continue. I know I'm not where I want to be, but
Yeah, of
hey, I'm not
course.
where I used to be.
Exactly, exactly. That's why Gigi and I have been friends for 9 years. Exactly.
Now, I'm curious, when you work with a company, how do you teach them whole brain thinking to create that team work?
It's easy. In a marriage or a couple, there are only two of you. So somebody's got to be able to be fairly proficient in each of these 4 skill sets that I've described. But in a company, it's great because in a company, even if there are just 4 people in the company, you could have one person who's skilled at each of those 4 things, and now you've got a team that's really effective. And so the way that I work with a company is I make sure that they understand where their individual skills lie and where their individual skills are missing, and make sure that they really become interdependent in a positive way. And they motivate and inspire each other and themselves to do their part and make sure nothing falls between the cracks.
I love it. It's like a big puzzle for you. I can see you doing that with ease.
Yes. Thank you.
She multitasks, but she gets it done. It's interesting. Well, I can see we're ready to go into a clip right now. This is going to be with our dear friend, Reverend Bernard Goodman, and I believe it's going to discuss the Cherokee. Please enjoy. We'll be back for more.
Year, a lot of people get to face who they are, get to learn who they are, get to see what their God mission is to some degree. A lot of movement's going to be going on, life-changing movement. You wait to see what I have to read when everybody's here. And so this is part of you, and for some reason you chose as your God mission returning the Cherokee tribe to its truthfully holiness, to its truthful holiness, whatever that is. And I don't know anything about Cherokee tribes, but this is what they're saying. It's like you're going to be relivening the ancestry of the Cherokee people and educating the world about the Cherokee people in whatever ways they're going to give it you to do that, including schools. You're going to be going to schools and teaching classes about the Cherokee people, Cherokee tribes, in all these small schools, wherever they are. I don't know if they're on reservations or wherever they are, but they're small schools. As opposed to a big public school, they're small schools. You're going to be going in there and you're going to be teaching them about the Cherokee Nation and how the Cherokee Nation did and did not get along with the Sioux Nation and the Nez Perce, the nations and all that stuff, you know.
They're fighting in me because my middle name is Sioux, Sue.
Which is Sioux. Oh, there you go. So you're going to be doing that. You're going to be doing a lot of that stuff throughout the year and then beyond the year. You're going to be sporadically brought back to the Cherokee Tribune is what they're saying, which is like a bunch of people, all right? And you're going to be brought before them, and they're going to talk to you. These are all ancient, incredible chiefs, and they're going to talk to you. Actually, you can be sitting in front, and they're going to be over there. You're going to be sitting right in front, facing them, and they're going to talk to you and tell you things that you need to know, that you ought to bring forth into reality, into the surface of today's world. And this has been long coming for you. You've been getting this energy for years, but you haven't been given the time to actually use it. They've been implanting it in you. But this year is going to start your inauguration into that historical, what they're calling it, an historical prophecy of light, where those who chose to bring forth the truth shall bring forth the truth of the Indian ways, of how they were peaceful, how they were brilliant, and how they created a civilization and how they sustained themselves, and what they did with the land and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they're showing me all kinds of stuff. Sort of propagating the life of the Cherokee tribes once again into reality, basically.
To honor our mother.
Yeah,
Mother Earth.
Mother Earth, Gaia, yes.
We have to get back to that.
Well, you're going to be doing that. They're going to take you back. In this tribune, that's what they're calling it, a tribune. I think there are 5 that I'm seeing. They're going to be talking to you in ways that you're actually going to understand everything they're saying to you, and you're going to probably want to record it or write it down, take notes, because they're going to give you stuff that is incredible stuff, whatever that may be. I don't know. And they'll either say it in their own language, you'll understand them, or they'll say it in English, but you'll understand whatever they're saying to you. No, they're being cute. And these Cherokee ancestries come from the Cherokee planet. So they'll be doing a lot of ET stuff with you. And you'll actually see them in human form. And right in front of you, you'll also see them occasionally change into ETs, back and forth, like you might do in a movie or something. So they're going to show you how real that is. You know, the movie Stargate, you know, that movie actually proved what I've been saying for years, that everything that we have here came from other planets, and when they did the pyramids on Stargate and our planet, that's where that pyramids came from. There are messages everywhere. So that movie actually represents the larger truth of how Earth was populated by everything that's here, the pyramids and all that stuff. How? And this is Ginny. I work with her. She works with me, but we hide. Anyway, so you're going to see the ET essence of how the Cherokee tribe actually was born on planet Earth.
He always has so many fascinating bits and pieces of information, but above all, I know that he stands for love, consciousness, peace, joy, all the good things that do keep us happy and connected with where we are and places that he can travel to. He has many gifts. Thank you, Bernard. Now, I'm going to explore Susan's knowledge some more. I have some more questions cooked up for her. I'm curious how you go about motivating someone, Susan, who is in denial to take any type of action about their situation.
It's not easy. First of all, it's not easy. So, you know, people are calling me, right? So someone's calling me. He or she has some idea that something has to be done, right? You know, they obviously, you wouldn't call an expert in that field, whatever the field may be, unless you realized you had to do something about it. However, a lot of people balk at the jump, like horses and horse shows. You know, it just scares them. They don't want to. And I have to repeat, and I have to motivate, and repeat and motivate, and sometimes they take a break because they can't really face it, or sometimes they just ignore the action plan that we've set up. But again, I repeat it as much as I can, whether I repeat it in a session or I repeat it in an email or both, and hopefully they realize that they've got to take preventative action before the world takes action and slaps them in the face. Because, you know, we can go into denial briefly, and that's okay. But if you go into denial and you stay in denial, the odds are you're not going to like what happens. And of course, I am very straightforward. I don't pull any punches. I don't hesitate for a minute to say what I know to be true. And then you have to choose, you know?
There you go. So if we don't pay attention, we start sliding down the cliff a bit.
Well, you know me. There are certain things I've suggested, you know, ad nauseum to you, right? So I really think it would be a good idea if you thought about this. And, you know, some of the things you've done soon, some of you've done later, some of you've done in the middle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's human nature. If you care about somebody, you don't drop it.
There you go. And she has a passion to contribute. regardless if it's a hard to hear message or not.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, if you really care about somebody, it's my belief
right.
that you are not going to let them dangle on the edge of the cliff. That's why this show is called, coaching, for the cliff. You're not going to let them dangle at the edge of the cliff if you really care. You're going to go, wait, step away from the cliff, right? So the same is with me.
There you go. And usually when we're hanging out on that cliff, we don't see, we're not grounded. So
Yeah.
it's so very helpful.
Thank you.
Well, I do know that you work with people around the world and with every possible culture within here, the United States. Is there a difference in the way that you coach each one of them?
Yeah, whether you know that somebody has strong preferences because of their cultural background, their religious background, their ethnic background, or whether it takes you a few minutes to figure out what their preferences are because they tell you, it's the same thing, isn't it? Because you can only lead the horse in the direction it's going. You're not going to, heaven forbid, whip and beat a 1,500-pound animal. In the same way, you're not going to whip and beat a human being and get any results that anybody enjoys. So it's always about motivating and inspiring people in such a way that they can get more of their needs met. And certain cultures, you're not going, you're not, for example, if you're talking about a Muslim culture, it's going to be difficult to motivate and inspire a woman to do something that's radically different from being what she would consider an obedient mother and wife. So you've got to teach her how to do things in a very calm, peaceful, motivating way. Whereas if somebody comes from a different culture and maybe has been in America 4 generations, the women have a different perspective. They're much more outspoken. So you always want to go within the culture.
I can see where the results would be extraordinary if you pay attention, of course.
Thank you.
Now, everyone is fascinated by Hollywood celebrities, and I know that you've worked with many of them through the years we've known you. And of course, you can't mention names. What is the difference, let's say, in coaching someone who really has so much success going on?
Well, it's hard. If somebody's that successful, it's really hard for them to trust, number one, because they got that success somehow. And it's really hard for them to listen to a new opinion. But of course, again, they're calling me because they've got a problem. They're not calling me because everything's perfect. So if somebody has a problem, the degree of that problem, the intensity of that problem, is what is going to allow them to listen, whether it's to me or to anybody else, a healthcare provider, an attorney, a financial advisor, whoever they're going to listen to. They're going to really be cautious because, again, they got where they got. They didn't know me then, right? And so now they want to make sure, as well they should, that they don't lose even 1% of the success they've had. And that makes it really tricky because what I know about Olympic coaching is a lot of times the Olympic coach has to teach an athlete to fall down in order to get better at ice skating, or fall down in order to get better at snowboarding. And so in life, you don't want to fall down. You might be willing to do it briefly in a sports exercise as long as you're well padded. But it's very, very tricky to teach someone outside the box skills so that they get a better result. So it requires a lot of subtlety.
What comes to my mind is all that ice skating and being able to...
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, I know that when we do avoid the tough conversations with our family, does that really help?
No, it really doesn't. It's very interesting that again and again, when I deal with families where there's an addiction going on, one or more family members, there seems to be this dynamic all the time. One parent is very, very passive. One parent is harsh. And it doesn't matter if the addiction shows up in somebody who's 60 and their parents are in their 80s or even 90s. But this is the dynamic I see in every case. If I'm looking at addiction, I always want to see if I can speak to the parents And one of them is very passive, and one of them is harsh. And so being passive, avoiding the issues, never works. What you want to do is you want to learn the 6-part conversation. You want to learn how to calm yourself before speaking. And then when you do speak, speak in a very loving and empathetic way. And that's how you're going to turn your family situation around. The 6-part is just fabulous. It works every single time. If you know how to do it, it will work for you each time.
Great tools, and so simple once you are in that calm space.
Easier than learning how to drive a car, you know?
That's true.
And look what driving a car does for us, which is fabulous. You know, you don't have to walk, you don't have to bike, you don't have to use a scooter, you know, you can drive. So it's the same kind of thing. It takes time to learn it, but once you've learned it, life becomes so much easier.
Now, when you do coach someone in the most challenging situation, I would imagine, how would that go if their career is on the line?
You know, what's interesting is there are some people who will listen, no matter what, if they've got a financial issue. And then there are some people who will listen no matter what if they've got an emotional issue. And of course, what I'm referring to is there are some people who are more left-brained and some who are more right-brained. But the difference is that if you've got a financial issue, that can be survival. So it's easy to get someone's attention when either they've just been fired, or they think they may be fired, or maybe they were fired some time ago and haven't been able to get a new job. And so in that crisis phase, I usually find that people are far more interested to listen. And what's sad is, you know, just getting a job or not losing your job is just the entry with me. I mean, there's so many more levels of success that are possible. And, you know, a lot of people don't even see that.
Yeah, they should stay with you until they do see that.
You know, not, and it's, you know, it isn't, of course, about me, but it's like, what's the life you really want to live? Because as Gigi and I were just saying, you know, we are lifelong learners because we know what we really want our lives to be like, and we're not going to stop until we get there, or we die, whichever happens first.
We get there.
Okay.
I'll go with that. I'll
Thank
vote.
you, yeah. Definitely first choice.
Now, okay, let's explore this. How do you coach someone whose marriage is about to implode?
Well, it depends what preference they have, you know. If, you know, some people, when their marriage is on the verge, they just want to make sure that they're going to survive it and, you know, have enough money and have enough custody of the children and the pets. They don't really care about saving their marriage, which is fine. And then there are some people who are absolutely devastated, again, who are not thinking in a practical way, but in an emotional way. That's what matters to them. And the thought of losing their marriage is just, you know, they're heartsick. So it depends on what is important to you and how we are going to get you where you want to go. And of course, in the United States, where we have marriages that you choose to enter into, you don't have arranged marriages by and large in America, it's very easy to create a reconciliation. All you have to do with my help is identify what are your partner's needs that were met when you got together in the first place. When did the needs stop being met for him or for her? What can you do to return to a time when you were meeting your partner's needs more and more and more often, or most of the time? And if you can demonstrate that with my help, if you can learn those skills, there's a high probability that you will have a reconciliation. And my results are that 100% of the time, there's reconciliation for my client if my client commits to learning these new skills and doing what it takes.
Very encouraging. So the honeymoon can go on forever.
Yeah, but you know, some people are not willing to learn that much. They're not willing to learn enough skills. They think they are when they call me, but when I outline the kind of communication skills they have to develop, the deep level of empathy and compassion, the kind of unconditional love that they actually never felt for their partner, it all becomes so much. They say, you know, how much is it going to cost me to get a divorce? Okay, you know, I don't get to vote, so it's up to you.
Oh, I see. Well, at least they could check it out, because if they
Yeah,
do end up
yeah.
divorcing, they'll have the skills hopefully down for.
Well, that's true. That's true. If you decide you want to get a divorce because it's too much trouble to learn these skills to save your marriage, you do have a little bit of a problem, which is your next relationship going to be more joyous, more solid, and more committed? Maybe not. It may be different. You may have different problems, but it may not be the ecstatic, joyous merging that you long for.
Well, now moving on, let's check this one out. How do you help a client whose family is in a serious health crisis?
You know, they say that it takes a lot longer to solve a health crisis than it does to create it in the first place. And so it's amazing the habits that people have, even though, you know, we all have access to Mercola.com. We all can listen to Sanjay Gupta. We can listen to Deepak Chopra. We can listen to a lot of experts on health and mental acuity to create peace and eliminate stress and all that. And while some people just, you know, it's unlucky. It's a genetic factor because they're doing everything they possibly can to be healthy. You know, a lot of people who have health issues have really done a lot of things that they do know intellectually were not very wise. You know, smoking cigarettes, smoking cigars and pipes, drinking a lot of alcohol, you know, not exercising, eating a lot of junk food, whatever it is. So if somebody has a health crisis, hopefully, if they want to get healthy and live a long time, they're going to be willing, without my prodding, to give up a lot of these behaviors that just don't work. You know, and give them up like yesterday.
That's a good point.
Please.
Yes, I know that's part of it too, a big part of it. And then I think that even you think clearer and you are more alive and energetic.
Absolutely.
Oh boy, it's better than eating your words, so to speak. Okay, let's play with this. Your mission, I know, is peace, and that is your message. Is there anything that we shouldn't put up with, even if we really are personally committed to peace?
Absolutely. I love this question. You know, there are three ways that you can look at your life, anything in your life. One is, it's perfectly fine with me. I'm enjoying it. Another is, it's absolutely unacceptable. I've got to either transform it or get away from it. Or the tricky one, which is I'm not sure. And what I'm saying is that I'm not sure needs to be eliminated from your choices. If your husband does something that you love, that's great. If your husband does something that drives you crazy, you only have to either decide you can accept it and it's fine, and you're going to get rid of that prejudice against whatever it is, or you need to learn how to motivate and inspire him to transform that behavior. Or if it's something really big and that person's not willing to transform it at all and you can't live with it, please know that there's a very strong potential health risk for you. So you may not want to stay in that relationship. So it's fine, I love it. It's not fine, I can't tolerate it. I'm going to work with him or her to transform it, or I'm moving on. Because if you want to have great health and have a wonderful life, you cannot surround yourself with all these things that drive you crazy. And call me and I will tell you examples of all my friends who are dead. Because every one of my dear friends who is no longer alive had a life situation that I literally was begging them to either accept or transform, and they didn't. They just kept fighting about it, railing against it, and they're gone now through some horrendous disease or another.
Yes, I know, very sad, but it's a reality check, so. Oh my, so we can even prolong our lives. That's the good thing.
Yeah, you eliminate the stress, you prolong your life.
So let the stress go. Let it go. Let those people go.
Yeah, let them open the back door, let them out.
Oh my. Okay, well, I know that, Susan, you offer this complimentary 1-hour telephone session, and that you've done that for everyone who's ever asked since 1999. Here we got the facts. And I know that you really have a passion and love your work. And I'm curious, what can someone learn in that 1 hour?
You know, you can completely reframe that area of your life. You know, it doesn't matter. If you're talking about, I don't know whether I should stay with my husband or leave him, we can completely reframe that question in an hour so that you're clear about what are the aspects of your marriage that work for you, what are the aspects that don't work for you, and then you can begin to have a conversation with your partner about it. If it's a business, you know, the business is struggling. Should I continue? Shouldn't I continue? What am I not seeing? We can completely reframe that in an hour. So you begin to see where your skills are, where your skills are not, and where you might find some help. And what are the conversations you would have with those people to motivate them to help you. So all of this is very, very straightforward. And in an hour, you'd be amazed at how much can be accomplished in an hour. I mean, I've had people call me and say, you know, I don't know what I should do for a career. And in an hour, I can hear what's exciting to them, and I can hear what, you know, their mother or their father or somebody told them they should be doing, and I can hear that they kind of go dead, you know, and we can talk about continuing education, et cetera, or how to get a job temporarily until they can get that continuing education. So whatever your issue is, you'd be amazed at how much, you know, you can get straight in that hour. So please call and, you know, let me know. I'd be happy to work with you. I think it's been about 9,000 people now, you know, since 1999. That's a lot of calls.
And she can get all of this information, gather it up in 1 hour,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
help to direct them. And hopefully they'll be willing to sign on
Yeah.
so they can get the results that they want.
Some people have enough skills, and that was the thing they needed. And then some of you get enough clarity when you speak to me, and you want to speak to me more, that's great.
There you go. That's what I think. They get to that point of some confusion or help with some decision making. So with your full brain going. And
Well, the nice thing is if you're working with me and it's a marriage thing, then you're saving a lot of money because you won't have to get a divorce. If you're working with me because you want a divorce and you want a peaceful divorce, you're going to save a lot of money because I only work with people and get them peaceful divorces, whether I mediate your divorce or somebody else does. It's a whole peaceful divorce strategy. If you're somebody who needs to get a job, obviously the purpose of working with me is that so you get the skills, and that's why so many of my clients get great job offers, et cetera, you know. So the benefits are built into the money that they have to spend.
Oh, perfectly put.
Because that's the thing about life coaching. You don't want a life coach who doesn't get you results. You're only going to have a life coach like me with 35 or so pages of signed testimonials, because people do get results. Otherwise, who needs it, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You get something for your money,
That's
something
right.
in return
sure.
that you can carry on for life in many directions.
That's right. The only way that anyone can keep a business running is by providing goods or services that are valuable. That's it.
Perfect. Since 1999.
I know, 15 years. Isn't that amazing?
It is, and so much before then, but
Yes.
focus on this since
Yes,
then.
exactly true.
Incredible. Well,
Thank you.
and she's still
Thank you.
developing other parts, I know.
That's right. It's always something new. If you haven't spoken to me in a couple of years, then you know you're in for a surprise because I've got lots new tools and skills you never heard of.
That's true.
Always something.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And I just want to remind the audience that, you know, we will be, please tune in, we will be going through 3 more, at least, parts of this coaching service. And what a gift it is. Susan, what a delight.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I know my homework. Okay, moving forward. A few announcements. The Compassionate Connection Show is live every Tuesday night from 8 till 9. And boy, we're just excited. We're in our 9th year, or let's see, maybe about 3 months, and we will be into our 9th year for sure. But I so appreciate so many of you in our little community here that really acknowledge how much information has come through and the loving way that we do put it out there. That is very helpful and encouraging to hear. And you can contact us at 805-698-8233 or an email. I know Fred just gave me a stack tonight of many, and that's at ggmore@cox.net. And we can go to live streaming. You can watch our show with your favorite guest, refresh things, and that is compassionateconnection.tv. And now to reflect on Susan, you can enjoy Susan Allan's column, Ask the Love and Relationship Coach. This is in our Santa Barbara Family Life magazine, and of course is available online, and that's www.santabarbara.sbfamilylife.com. Great little information, big column, and very practical, I know. Now, an announcement that Susan has going is she will be offering a training for parents at the Families Act organization here in Santa Barbara. And this is dedicated to advocating compassionate treatment. Ooh, I like the sound of that. So this is another reason to give Susan a contact call, which would be 805-695-8405, or an email, susan@susanallan.org. And Susan's YouTube is youtube.com/user/Susan Allan 2001. So there you go. Give this girl a call. It would be a very informative 1 hour. Next week, we will have a guest that will be focused on the language of nonviolent communication, just the communication factors, maybe some role plays and puppets, we'll see. And now right here, a special thanks to everyone in the studio, Matt, for keeping the studio together for us, and Mark, who has just been here since day one, great energy, JP, Oscar, so many people over the years. Thank you for your support. And right here, our personal TV team, our director, Fred Winter. We love him. We couldn't do the show without him. And technical support and much more, Tyler Geck. We appreciate so much as well. And for our viewing audience, I would just like to wish you all permanent, continuous, countless, and inescapable moments of compassionately connecting. Enjoy, and thank you for viewing.